So yesterday, thank you. So yesterday we did look at several variances. We started by looking at the variable cost variances. Then we also looked at the fixed cost variances, where we emphasize that this attempts to explain the under stroke over absorption. So this attempts to explain what causes under or stroke over absorption. So today we are going to look at Thank you. So yesterday, today we are looking at the sales. Thank you. Today we are going to look at the sales variances. Okay, so remember we said, yeah, the remote is here. When it gets called, somebody please, you can't trade. Don't die in here. So remember we said these are the three variances we have to look at. Because when you look at the P&L, the profit and loss statement, we have revenue, we have the costs, the variable costs, and then we have the fixed. Because these are the things which affect our profit, okay? In every business. That's the reason why we focus on only these three different variances, because we want to look at what is our profit. Because the whole reason we are doing business is to make profit. So every time you're going to start a business, for example, who has ever done a business? I don't know. Every time you want to start a business, you're looking at the return you're going to get, okay? So the reason why we are doing variances, we want to understand why is, when the project was starting, we had a projected return, but why did we fail to achieve that projected return? Okay, so that's why we look at these three variances, because the three variances summarize our profit and loss statement. So under the sales variances, we have, just like other variances, sales can be either influenced by two things. What are those things which influence sales? What could cause your sales to change? For example, I'm projecting to sell 2,000 shirts next year. What could cause them to change my revenue? The price. What's the other? Pardon? The actual units, the quantity. Okay. So the only reason why your revenue projections change is either because the price changed or the quantity you plan to sell was not made. Okay. So these are the only two things which cause changes in sales revenue. So under quantity, we call it volume. Okay. Volume means quantity. So for the sales variances, we are going to look at two items, the sales price variance, which attempts to explain a change in sales because of a change in prices. And then the sales volume variance, we shall attempt to explain an impact on profit. because of a change in the effect on contribution. Okay. So let's start with the sales price variance. Sales price variance is just like any other variance, or just like any other expenditure variance. Looks at the difference between the actual price versus standard price. Okay. But on what? On actual goods. Okay. So that means we are going to say, so we shall compare the standard price versus the actual price and multiply with the actual quantity of goods sold. So whatever difference we get, we multiply it with the actual quantity, not the budgeted quantity of goods sold, the actual quantity of goods. So that means you're going to get your actual and compare it with the fixed sales budget. Okay. So that will give us the sales price variance, comparing actual price versus the planned price. For example, you budgeted to sell at 2,000, but you have sold at 1,800. Okay. So all these strategies you undertake will have an effect on your profit or contribution. Then the other is the sales volume variance. So the sales volume variance, we are looking at what is the impact of a change in the quantity sold on either profit or contribution. So it either impacts profit if we're using absorption costing. It impacts contribution if we are using marginal costing. Okay. So we shall compare budgeted sales with actual sales and then value them at the standard profit per unit under absorption costing and then standard contribution per unit under marginal costing. Okay. Are we together? The sales variances should be some of the easiest because for the price, we are comparing actual price versus planned price times actual units sold. For the sales volume variance, we are getting the difference in between the budgeted sales. We are talking about not sales amount of money, sales units. Okay. The difference between planned sales units and actual sales units times either standard profit per unit. That means you have to compute standard profit per unit. Where do you get it from? Use budgeted figures to get standard profit per unit. Or standard contribution per unit if you're using marginal costing. Do you have a question? So let's look at an example. The standard selling price of product X is 15. The standard contribution is 3. Budgeted sales in 20x3 were 2,300. Actual sales in 20x3 were 2,000. Okay. So we start with the sales price variance. For the sales price variance, we said we are comparing actual price versus always, I think we normally prefer saying subtract or add. Actual price less budgeted price or standard price. Sales price variance is equal to the actual price per unit less standard price per unit, times actual units sold. Okay, so that is what we call the sales price variance. Okay, so let's now go back to the question and deduct the information. They say the standard selling price of product X is 15. So this is the standard selling price. $15. Okay. And the standard contribution is 3. Now, if they have sent the standard contribution is 3, they have already sent you a message that they are using marginal costing. Okay, we don't need right now. Budgeted sales were 2,300. Actual sales were 2,000. So we need actual sales, which are equivalent to 2,000 units and at a rate of 15.3. The actual selling price is equal to $15.3. So with this information, standard price is 15, actual price per unit is 15.3. The actual units sold were 2,000. Okay. So we say 15.3 minus 15 times 2,000. What do we get? 600. Favorable, adverse? Favorable. And the favorable part, you don't get it because it's a negative or it's because it's a positive. You only get it by understanding the values of input, okay? Because actual selling price was greater than planned selling price, that means we end up with, it's a good decision, okay? So you managed to sell at a price higher than what you planned, okay? So the 600 is favorable. Then the sales volume variance. Any questions on sales price variance? Then, yes, but then budgeted. So you went into the market thinking you're going to sell at 2,000 shillings, but then you found some rich customer, you sold at 2,300 shillings. So it's a good thing. Then the sales volume variance, we are looking at the difference between actual sales units minus budgeted sales units. Oh, yes, okay, budgeted sales units times, remember they sent us a message already telling us it is marginal costing times standard contribution per unit, okay? So let's deduct the information from the question. They said the selling price of a product, we have already used that already. Standard contribution is 3. So standard contribution $3 per unit. Then budgeted sales were 300. And actual, already established this, actual was 2,000 units, okay? So feed the information and say 2,000 units minus 300 times 3, okay? To give us, what do you get? Is it adverse? Is it favorable? Adverse, why? We are losing money. How are we losing money? Yes? We sold less. Okay. So you need to note that the sales price variance is adjusted on sales. Okay. Then the sales volume variance is adjusted on either contribution or profit. Okay. So when they give you budgeted profit, the first thing you do is to flex it with the sales contribution, because budgeted profit is normally tagged to budgeted sales. Okay. So when you're doing budgeting, you say sales could be one of the key factors of budgeting. So the sales determine the profit. The moment you adjust sales, the profit changes. The other things have to collectively determine profit. So the sales volume variance is used to flex either profit or contribution. So when I give you a profit, that means you compute a sales volume variance to flex it. So for example, if you had a profit of 2,000, we should have now subtracted 900 to start adjusting. Then the sales price variance is used to adjust the sales. Okay. That's the only small difference. Are we together? So they're asking, while management is evaluating the impact of the price rise on the sales variance, was it a good decision, a bad decision? We got here 600 favorable, 900 adverse. Who can give us a good explanation why this could be a good or bad decision?
Add the two, they are made with adverse negative, and gives the adverse of 300, meaning it was a bad decision.
Okay, that is now basic. Let's improve on the explanation. It's correct, but basic. Everybody sees that when you add the 600 and 900, you end up with a 300. So which explanation do you give management to? So management can feel your presence in the room. You know, even when the guy says, yeah, you add 600 and 900 and the difference is bad. Okay? What explanation do we give to management? Yes?
We have sold less than we are budgeting.
Yeah, so why do you think we have sold less than we have budgeted?
Yes, we have budgeted 2,300, sold 2,000.
Yes, it's obvious that we have sold less than we have budgeted. Just a moment. Let me first pick someone online. When we increase the price of our actual sales, okay, continue. Sales reduce. So when you increase the price, our actual sales reduce. Thank you. Yeah, that kind of explanation that our sales, the decision to increase the price has impacted our sales negatively. That means the whole decision was not a good decision. Okay. Normally, when businesses are entering into a market, they can use pricing strategies. We normally have two pricing strategies. Which are those? We can either price scheme or price penetrate. So price penetration is where you lower the prices and increase the sales. You've seen people in school. They lower prices, they increase the sales. So what you're hoping that this small little money you're going to make on each sale, you're going to sell too many units and make very good money. Then we have price scheming, where people only target very few customers, but they price their items trying to make a huge margin. Like which companies?
Apple.
Like Apple. What's Apple?
The one makes phones.
Oh, Apple. Oh, okay. Yeah, those guys. Any other? In Uganda?
Yes.
Pardon?
Things.
In Uganda, we're talking about companies here. Don't I understand? Which companies are price scheming? Yes? Now, for them, they're not about numbers. So now those are the ones where you feel like the decision, you have to look at the decision. You're trying to make a huge margin by selling to few, so it has to come out. So now in this case, it's backfired on them. They tried to make a huge margin. They had a favorable price variance. However, it backfired in terms of the sales contribution that the overall, they were having a negative impact on the profit. Which companies are price scheming? Meso, eh? Okay. So if not Meso, Meso is a restaurant, by the way. So which other companies are price scheming? I'm trying to bring it home. As you think about that, let's do this number. Yeah, this is the question. Activity 6. So you don't know companies price scheming. Which one? Mighty Rise. Hey, Mighty Rise. Yes, Mighty Rise is price scheming. You're going very far. Where do you guys eat from? Okay, not on a regular basis. Regular basis is the canteen, right? You see, like CJ, they're price scheming, okay? Because there's no way you're telling me if a plate of food is 51K, no more plate of food. On the roadside, it's around 6, 8K. For 51K, they give you 2 chicken. And so for them, they are not targeting many customers, they're just targeting very few. So they're hoping that their price variance will compensate for the volume variance. Chocobo guys are hoping for the volume variance will compensate for the price variance. So let's work out activity 6. Okay, so let's work it out quickly. So the selling price variance is equal to actual sales per unit then standard sales per unit, sales price, then standard sales price per unit, times actual sales units. So the actual sales per unit, we shall get it as 52,520. 52,520 divided by 10,100 minus, the other one is 51,000 divided by 10,000 times 10,100 to give us, this will be 5.2 minus 5.1 times 10,100, and what we end up with 10. It's favorable. 10. Favorable. Okay. So the sales price variance, you compare standard actual sales units per unit. Or why I'm trying to insist on per unit, there you don't get lost when you're computing it, because when you just, because this would have used this and then just flex this one, but then it becomes out of English. Okay, because if you can just use 52,520, then you flex that by doing 5.1 times 10,100, you also get the variance. Okay, but the shortcuts, these shortcuts come in later when you practice a lot. For now, let's stick to everything from basics. So we compare actual sales units by, you get the actual sales price per unit, compare it with the standard selling price per unit. The moment you start comparing the bracket, you should have made up your decision on either it's favorable or adverse. Then you multiply with actual sales units. Then for the sales volume variance, if I can space it here, sales volume variance, it's equal to actual units sold minus budgeted units, budgeted sales units, times, I think many of us have been looking for contribution. Like I said, they wanted you it's standard, they wanted you it is marginal or absorption costing. You just have to look at, have they given you, if they give you profit, that is absorption costing. So that is what you use. If they give you contribution, that is marginal costing. If they give you both and they say the company uses marginal costing, you can look for contribution. Okay.
They do give us contribution, how do we get it?
If they do what?
They don't give us contribution. Yes.
If they don't give you the contribution, you can calculate the contribution if they have given you the revenues and the variable costs. Okay, so then this was, because they are given us profit, you're going to use the standard profit. Standard profit per unit. Okay, so remember standard profit, that means we're using the budgeted profit. So our actual sales units were 100 minus 10,000 times 8,000, but per unit, the units were 10. So we end up with, what do we end up with? 80. Favorable, adverse? Favorable. Okay, so how do we analyze this one? So the answers look like this. We have 10 favorable. We have 80 favorable. Okay. So manage to increase the price and still end up with a good sales volume. So this must have been a very good market. So then now we are going to apply. Do you have questions about this? So that completes the foundation for variances. That means now you have a foundation to earning 10 marks in the paper. Remember, that's a section B number. Okay. So we have covered almost 2 of the 3 section B numbers. Okay, fully. So we are left with largely 1. So, but now I've given you a foundation because we have looked at budgeting, the budgeting processes, the standard costing, and then the foundation for variances. Because the variances are 3. What the rest we are going to look at is application of variances. Okay. So how do we put all the things we have been doing together? Like I said in the beginning, the 3 variances come from the P&L. Okay. The revenue, the variable cost, and then the fixed costs. So in an operating statement, normally what financial accountants call the P&L, which is a report of management of actual costs and revenues, usually showing variances from reports. As a management accountant, we say that one of our responsibilities is to plan and then control. So when you plan, you don't just plan, I'm planning for material, of what uses the material. You have to come up with a budget of the profit you're going to make next year, okay? And that budget, that means we'll have the expected revenues, the expected cost of sales, and in the cost of sales, that's where our material, labor, everything is, okay? Expected fixed costs, then expected profit. So throughout the whole year, you're computing variances on everything. They have to work together. And you're looking at how are they impacting our profitabilities, and you're making decisions throughout the whole year. So that's what we call an operating statement. For example, an operating statement we have here, Canary Company is a manufacturer of mobile phone car kits and has the following financial data. Okay. The budget is that the sales, production, materials, labor. So you realize the budget starts with the sales. We have already looked at sales revenue, variances, then production, which is normally referred to as cost of sales. It has those items, the contribution. The moment they say that, you know, this company is using which type of costing? Marginal costing, okay? Then budgeted fixed overheads. Remember, fixed overheads are treated as periodic cost under marginal costing. So, and then, so that was the budget. The budget, they expected to make a contribution of 191,400. The actual turned out that the contribution was 176,400. So there's a dip in their contribution. So they're asking you as somebody who has been to the MA class to explain this dip, okay? So you don't start babbling about the economy, or you go into computation of these figures and start comparing that. For example, we budgeted to sell 8,700 units, but actual sales were, these were budgets. I want to line them up, but actual 8,900. So the sales team is saying it's not our responsibility that the contribution has dipped. Why? On the glance of it, they have done well, haven't they? The budget was 8.7. They sold 8.9. Okay. So you sorry, this line should be like, I'm very poor at lines. So the sales team is telling you that the budget, for us, we are not responsible for the problems of the company. Talk to the people who are in production, okay? But is that correct? So the first thing you do is to fix this contribution. Remember, we fix it using the sales volume variance. So let's start by doing that. So don't focus on writing, because now we are going to now recompute all the variances. I want you to not passively watch the screen, intentionally watch the screen, okay? Because we have been writing throughout, like from yesterday, today. So now look at the screen, read with me. So don't, as I'm reading the question, actually, let me give you a minute to go through the question. So read through the question so that we work it out together, because we've been working out on answers. So after reading, when you see me writing something, you did not see where you're reading, please ask. Because now we are going to compute so many variances. So take a minute and read through the question. Read through the budgeted operating statement, and also read through the actual, and then we start from there. Have we finished? Okay. So now let's start. So you realize that the sales team, like for example, let's start from the sales team. They are saying it's not them who have caused the company problems. Okay, so let's start by we are doing marginal costing. The costing method is important. Why is the costing method important? Marginal costing means how many variances do we have to compute under fixed costs? Under marginal costing, how many variances do we compute under fixed costs? We don't compute. Yes? Yes, how many variances do we compute under fixed costs? Only one, okay? The expenditure variance. So let's start with the sales. So no, we are reconciling. What we want to do is we're asking ourselves the question, how do we move from 191? How did we move from 191 to 176,794? 176,794. Okay. So now that is the question we're asking ourselves, that at the beginning of the year, this was our projection, but how did we end up in this? So let's move backwards. 176,794. Moment. Let's start from the budget. I think we start from the budget. Contribution per budget is how much? What's the contribution in the budget? 191,400. Okay. So 191,400 is what we plan to get. So we start by adjusting for sales contribution. So a sales volume variance. A sales volume variance. So we're looking at the impact of the quantity sold on our contribution. And we say the sales volume variance, how do we get it? Okay. Oh, need X3. Okay, I'm start from 15. Sales volume variance. Yes. Yeah. To do this, to walk this journey. Where's the journey? From here to that point.
So the question is, where is the difference?
What has caused the difference? How did we end up? The question is, how did we end up here? Okay. Yes. So we start with the sales volume variance. And what's the formula? I said, no, you're not writing, I'm writing. That means you have to speak.
Actual sales unit.
Actual sales units minus budgeted sales units times standard contribution, because we are using marginal costing per unit. So what were our actual sales? 8,900. Then budget was? What was our standard contribution per unit? Times? Standard contribution per unit was 22. Okay.
Budgeted contribution divided by 8,600.
Budgeted contribution, which is that 191,400 divided by 8,700. Okay. So let me remove this and illustrate. 191 It's 191,
400.
400 divided by, that is the budgeted units to be sold. So each one was making a contribution of 22. So what's the answer? Pardon? 400. Favorable, adverse. Okay, so we come here and adjust. Oh, I'd forgotten. I think it's at 11. 400 favorable. So I won't keep favorables as positives. So our flexed contribution is how much now? When you add for 400? $195,800. So we do the sales price variance. So the sales price variance is equal to actual price per unit minus standard price. Please ask. That's why I don't want you to write. I want you to, you see the question and you see what I'm writing and see if it frames what's in your head. Standard price per unit. Because the writing we have been writing since yesterday. Times actual units sold. Okay. So what is the actual price per unit? How do we get it if we don't have it? $8,900. Pardon? 6,497,700, like that. Divided by 8,900 minus what's the, would we have a standard price per unit? 75 times 8,900. So let's break down this for us to make a decision on either it is favorable or not. What do we get from this fraction? 73 minus 75. Why I'm doing this? So that we can make the decision on favorable or not favorable. Times 8,900. Is it adverse? Is it favorable? Adverse of how much? 2 times 8,900. 17,800 adverse. So
In this situation, since they gave us they did not give us we had to calculate 749 divided by 8. They didn't give us the actual price. So it's easier to do 64,900 minus 75 times 8,900.
my first thing, no, purposes of the class, we're doing rudimentary things from basics. You're saying, wouldn't it be easier this way?
The one that showed us.
You want to do this? I know what you want to do. You 9,700 minus and flex the 75 times.
8,000.
Yes. Okay, I understand this, but when you practice, you get here. Okay, but for now, let's stick to that. Okay, so the sales teams, we realize that we have an adverse sales price variance. Sales price variance of how much? 17,800. So now you told us, now you demonstrate the sales team that you costed us some amount of money. Okay. Why? You sold, you sold at a lower price, but you don't get the number of units, right? Okay. They reduced the price, but that did not significantly cause the sales units to increase significantly to match the reduction in price. Because the profit that you gain from reducing prices should be that the profit you make from the extra units you sell should compensate for this one. But we realize that it's not compensating for it. So now, as the sales team is saying, we hit the target, you show to them that you're draining the company by reducing the price. Okay, so now it's the price penetration strategy did not work. So we move on to production. I'm saying the strategy, the price penetration strategy, because the strategy was to reduce prices and increase sales, but did not work because the revenue, the contribution obtained from the increment in sales was not enough to compensate for the reduction in price. Okay, so production, where do we start from? Material. So material, we have, I'm going to bring a total variance. So let's go to 15. We had 16. So material. Okay. Let's do this. Let me put it here in the middle so that we can just calculate it side by side. We have we're going to bring a total variance for material. The variance is either expenditure or usage. Okay. So on the expenditure side, what is the formula? We said expenditure formula is AQ AP minus AQ SP. Okay. So what was the actual quantity of material? What was the actual price? 5. Actual price was 5.2 per unit. That's what's given. So let's come back here. Where is actuals? Actual. So actual, we have material purchased and used 39 at this much. This is the same. Remember yesterday we said this is the same as AQ actual price. Okay. Or if you want to get just this, that means you have to divide this by that. But you can just take 161,043. 161,043 minus, we have AQ being AQ is 34,928. Hope everybody sees that. 34,928 times, what's the standard price per unit? 4.5. Okay. What do we get? 161,043 minus 5. You're saying 4.5 times this is? Yes? 567. 517.5 like this. Okay. Oh, this looks so big.
You just, if you calculate and put it in brackets, and yeah, and you get 24,928, you get 3867. The answer.
The answer 3867. Okay. Firstly, you're saying 161,043 minus 567,513 is 3867. Okay, let's go. Let's just go back.
No, because 34928 times 4.5 is 157,176. 0.5.
Oh, this one is. What do you get this side?
157.
157.
176.
176. Okay, that was what I was querying. It was a huge number. So you compare. This is actual. This is actual, this is budget. It gives us a favorable or adverse variance. Because actual is greater than, okay, this is an adverse expenditure variance. So when it comes to usage, we said usage is given by, what's the formula for usage? APSP, AP, AQ, SP minus, pardon? SP, SQ. So we have our AQ, I think, let me bring it here. Usage. So we said AP, AQ, SP minus SP, SQ. Our AQ is how much? 34928. We are dealing with kilograms times what's the standard price per unit? 4.5 minus 4.5. What is our standard consumption? Standard consumption per unit. Let me just put this in bracket times. What is the standard consumption per unit? Go to the budget, 18. So each unit is supposed to take 18 kilograms. I think people now are lost. People are quiet. So they said 4 kilograms. Where's per unit? No, this is dollars, not a. Okay, this is every unit is taking 4. So that means that is what we call standard consumption per unit. So this is 4. Okay, times. But we want to find the standard. To get the standard quantity used, you get standard consumption per unit times what? Times actual units. It's a computing absorb. It's like absorbing, okay? And absorption costing. So you get 4 times what were the actual units produced? 8. Production was 8,900, matching sales 8,900. Are we together on this one? Like I said, practice, practice, practice. So what do we get from this? I think the answer up here, I have it, 157176 minus what is 4.5 times 4 times 8,900. So this is our SQ. Pardon? 162, 160, 200. Is it favorable? Is it adverse? This is budget. This is actual. It's favorable. Okay. Favorable how much? Pardon? What's the favorable position? Pardon? 30, 24. Okay. So when it comes to material, we bought it expensively, but then we managed to make a saving, but the saving was not good enough. Okay. We ended up with a total adverse variance. So the total adverse variance for material, total material variance is equal to 30, 24 minus 38, 3867, giving us 843 adverse. Yes, we might have bought very good material, but yeah, it cost us a bit. Normally, you realize that when we have an adverse material variance, an adverse material expenditure variance means we bought material expensive. That means it should not good quality material. The saving should come in usage. And when you have a favorable expenditure material variance, you likely to end up with an adverse usage variance because you bought poor quality material, so they will end up using more than they should have used. Okay, so now we have 843 adverse. Let me look for the page number. It's around there. So material, we said 843. Production is also, they put us down. We go to labor. So labor variances, we are looking at two variances. We are looking at the rate variance and efficiency variance. So for the rate variance, we are what are we saying? What's the formula? AQ, AP, SP, AQ. What is our actual quantity? Probably we have this entire bracket. Do you have it? When you go to actual, you're saying labor, 45,400 hours were paid and worked at this. That means that is our AQ, AP, okay? Is 224, 515, 224, 515 minus, what is our standard price when you go to the budget for labor? $5 per hour. How many hours were actually worked? When you come back to actual, pardon? 45,400. What do you get from that? 224,515 minus, pardon? 27, 22,700. Okay, adverse favorable. 227 should obviously be greater than 224. This is budget, this is actual. You're sure? We're making a saving. Now we're dealing with costs. Okay? A saving of how much? $248. Normally, when you make a saving, you like it to end up because this must be poor quality employees. Anyway, let's find out. So the efficiency variance, yes. Every time you pay somebody very little money, they like it to cost you. You need to think every time you go and order for something and you realize you're paying little money for labor, it's going to come out poorly. So efficiency is, a formula is AQ, SP, SQ, SP. So AQ, SP, where they computed this one is here. SP is SPAQ, it's already there. 22,700, okay? 22, what's wrong? 22. Why do I have a red screen? Anyway, let me walk through this. Okay, 22. Then that means we need to come this side. What is the standard price per unit? Yes. 5. What is the SQ? Remember, SQ is standard consumption per unit times actual consumption. Okay. SP, SQ. So this will be 27,000 minus 5 times. Now let's put this in bracket. Minus standard consumption. What's the standard consumption per unit? Is the standard price is 5 and the standard consumption is 5. 5 times actual units, which are 45,400. Realize how easy these things are. So this would be 22. What do you get from that entire line? Minus, what's 25 times 45,400? Pardon? 25 times 45,400. 227. Pardon? No, just this. Pardon? What is 5 times 5 times 45,400? It can't be 1. It will be a huge difference because this is already 22. It's a huge difference. Yeah, it's like this. 2. What should be?
It will be 1,110,000. Because 5 times 45,400.
Only.
Yeah.
Change the 7.
Okay. So let's go back. The standard consumption is each unit should have used how many hours? 5 hours. Okay. However, we're using 5 hours. And how many? Sorry, it's not times this. Apologies. Times the actual number of units. 8,900. Okay. Pardon? 22? 22? Okay, so every time you're getting those abnormal answers, don't just frame with them. Okay, so yeah, the differences should be reasonable. What's the difference? 22. Okay. For favorable adverse. This is budget. This is actual. Adverse, I told you. Every time you use cheap labor, it costs you. So the total labor variance is equal to we had unfavorable variance of 2485 minus we ended up with 2015 adverse. Where are we? 2015 adverse. Okay. So what the other item is? The next item, variable overheads. So for variable overheads, okay, variable overheads, we have two. One is the expenditure, the other is the efficiency. Okay, So let's start with the expenditure. So the expenditure, the formula is AP AQ minus AQ SP. Do you have this? How much is it? $22. It's here. 348.87.348 minus AQAP. Do you have standard price? When I say standard price, we come back to budget. And say variable overheads are consumed at a rate of $2. $2 times what is actual hour? What are actual $2 of actual hours worked, I believe, right? Okay. $2 for actual hours worked. Let me see, mobile company uses the following data. Yeah, let's use actual hours worked because they're using hours. So we can use actual hours worked, 45,400. 45,400. So what do we get? 87,348 minus 9. So this is budget, this is actual. Favorable, adverse. Adverse of how much? Pardon? 34. 34. 52. So we move on to look at the efficiency variance. So for efficiency variance, we said it is equal to AQ SP minus SP SQ. So we have AQ SP, it's here. We have just calculated it. 22 times 4,500 to get 9,800. 9,800. What is the standard price? Expenditure is? Oh, we use less. Thank you. Okay. So 9,800. And then what's the standard price? 2. Standard quantity we use is equal to standard consumption per unit, which is each unit takes 5 hours times. Yes, times how many units? 8,900 actual units. So this will be 9,800 minus, what do you get from this whole, pardon? 89,000, okay? So what's the total? So this is budget, no, this is actual, this is budget, 1,000, like this, okay? Is it adverse, favorable? So actual looks greater than budget, so it's adverse. The total expenditure variance, so the total variable cost variance is equal to, we got a favorable one earlier, 3452, 3452 minus 800 to give us 165 favorable. 1652, oh, sorry. 1652 favorable. Do you have any other? So now let's see. Are we reconciled? So 195,800 plus 17,800. Oh, sorry, 195,800 minus 17,800 minus 843 minus 2015 plus 165. What do we get? One seven 176 794 176 794. Is it what we have? Yes. So we have now explained. So now here you sit down and say, labor, production, so they don't do well. Production also they don't do well. Okay. So you give reasons for production not doing well. You say in material, you bought a very good material, but then the usage was poor. For labor, I think we need to improve on, either train them so that they improve on their efficiency, but we are doing well in terms of managing variable costs. Okay, so now that's how you write the whole report. Let's compute the last variance. What is last variance? The fixed cost. Fixed cost what? Expenditure variance. Because you are doing marginal costing, what is the fixed cost expenditure variance? Is equal to budgeted fixed cost minus actual fixed cost. So what is budgeted fixed cost?
$3,500.
135,500. What is the actual?
134.
130?
134.
134?
0.
70. 72. 74. Okay, what's the difference? 57? Like that? No.
7.
35.
7.
Okay, favorable adverse. Okay, the situation worsened. I think the people negotiating were not doing a good job. So, oh, yeah, I did. Oh, sorry. I should have done it somewhere else. So this, we add our adverse variance of 3574 to end up with the profit, the actual profit of how much? What do you get? When you add 176,794 minus 3574, what do you get? 173,220. So now you have a whole picture. What then? Oh, they are not subtracted, so they are not subtracted the entire fixed cost. So you have to subtract the whole amount. Okay, so now that is computation of all the variances. Apart from, I think we have not computed the fixed cost variances. But do you need a break? If it is to the contrary, I want you to do this number. Or you want it as homework? Homework. I can't be a dictator. So let's go for a break and return. Okay? 11:34, 11:35. So let's return at 11:45. So, but this number has, we are going to, the first thing you need to remember is adjusting from to compute the profitability. How do you compute the profitability? You have to get it from here. From the budget. Now we start with the budgeted profit. There is sales, variable costs, okay? Then you also get the fixed cost per unit. That means you have to compute, what's the fixed cost per unit called? You divide these budgeted overheads by the activity. Then the answer you get is our budgeted profit per unit, multiply it times the number of units to get the profit budgeted for, okay? It's not just, don't get this profit, just don't subtract this minus this. You have to recompute. Okay, so let's go for a break and then return. So when we return, we should, since you asked for homework, and I've been interpreting the variances already. So when you return early, you start by doing that number. Let me see. And no, not that one. So when you do, we shall come back to practice more variances by looking at that number. So let's return at 11:45.
When you start talking to them, yes.
That's one of the attributes analysis. I would absolutely. Read for the original.
Tell the class end at 1. Just inquiring so that I get to know what I need, how I need to cover, what I need to cover. Pardon?
Juma prayers.
Pardon?
We go for Juma prayers.
Yeah, you're going for Juma prayers. What time does it start?
1.
At 1.
I thought we are supposed to be in the bus.
Hey, the mosque is right there. That one mosque. Hey, Rita says class ends at midday. Right. Okay, so, but what time does the class end? 45, eh?
Yes.
That's good. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, it's about that number just one variable overhead expenditure variance.
Variable overhead expenditure variance. Let me go there. Okay, as you ask.
This is a different answer. The formula is
Variable. So I think it was around, no, this was those. This was material. Variable. This was labor. Was it this one?
efficiency. Okay.
So which one do you want? Variable overhead?
Expenditure.
What has left you? The formula. Okay, it's easy. As long as you have the figures, we can just fix them here. Expenditure, any expenditure variance, the formula is AP, AQ minus AQ, SP. So what do you have?
They give it to us it's 7. It's 7.
87348.
Actually, because we use hours of
Units. Because we are getting consumption, but we try to fix the budget. But we are fixing the budget for units, not hours.
8,000.
So it will be what is that? What was the split? I think it was 2 times the actual units were 8,900, and each unit required how many hours? I think there were 5. So we are still together?
Yeah.
Okay, so now this should give you the right answer. This one. Okay. All of you have got says compute out together. What's this? What do you get from this? Times 5 times 2, 89, yeah. 1,000, this is 87, 348. What do we get? 1,652. Is that the correct answer? Or that's the correct answer? 3? Wow, yeah. 3, 4, 5. The hours. Oh, sorry, this was unexplained. Sorry.
Expenditure, but they use hours, it was labor.
Actual quantity. No, sorry. No. I think here is where we're making the mistake from. We are not doing the right thing. We are using 2 times the actual labor hours, not quantity units. We are doing our SQ instead of AQ. So we're supposed to use the actual labor hours, which are 45, 400, yeah. This is AQ. The same AQ used here. Okay. So hours, these are just hours. It's in when you're doing SQ is where you do what we did.
So what you give us, but those hours you give us for materials, so just use it for labor as well.
Pardon?
Those hours that you give us, you give them to us for material
They gave them to us under labor.
and the labor.
Yes, because the same labor. It's when you're doing labor, it's when people are working, that's when you're consuming the variable cost. Yes. Okay, so then let's now attempt some questions. We are going to use the variance data we have to compute some numbers. So for example, another example we have here is XYZ uses standard costing. The following data relates to the labor grade. 2, actual hours worked were 10,400. Standard allowance for actual production was that. Then standard rate per labor hour was 5. Then the labor rate variance was 416 and was adverse. So they're asking us what was the actual rate of pay per labor hour. Okay. So this is when, so they're asking the actual rate of pay per labor hour. So what variance are they? So they're giving us data and they want us to use it to get the rate of pay per labor hour. So that means from this data, where can we start from? We can start from the variance. And which variance is this? Labor rate variance, which is given by AP, AQ minus SP, AQ. What do we have? SP, standard rate of labor per hour, 5. What else do we have? Standard allowance for actual production, okay? So this is the planned planned budget expense for labor. Then actual hours worked were AQ is 10,400. Can we work out this now? We have this. We have, okay, we have, if I call this X, we have X, we have this, we have this, we have that. So that means we only have one missing variable. Are you seeing that? So we have the rate, where's the pen? We have the rate variance being equal to AQ, AP minus AP, AQ, sorry, okay, not AP, SP, AQ, okay? But they say this rate variance is what? It's negative, okay? And from our setting, you need to know how to assign a rate from the negative. So if it's negative, that means the budget was greater than, sorry, the actual was greater than the budget. That's why we ended up with an adverse variance. I don't know if you're seeing what I'm saying. They said it is adverse, okay? That means our actual was greater than the budget. So if we arrange it this way, that means this side is positive, okay? Because this is greater than that. So what was the rate variance? 416 is equal to what was our actual quantity? They said actual hours worked were 10,400 times AP. Are we looking for AP? The actual rate of pay times actual price minus what is our SP? 5 times 10,400. So what I'm saying, either for this one to be positive or negative, it depends on how you've arranged this. So if they say this was adverse, okay, it means your actual was greater than the budget, okay? So that's why this is positive. So 416 is equal to 10,400 AP minus 52,000. So take this side or take the other side, say AP is equal to 416 plus 52,000 divided by 10,400. What do we get? 9 point. What's it? 5 point. Okay. Are we together? Yeah, we have the option 5.04. Yes.
That's by 10,400. You will get 4.96.
When we divide that by 10,400, why do others get 5.04?
Cost.
Yes.
So it's minus 10.
Hey, the minus was in the previous step. Okay. So we work out to another one, right? Or you can now start doing some for me. Hmm? Can you start doing some for me? Okay, let me work out one for you. Again, we are saying the labor cost for Cricket Company for that month as follows. Actual hours worked was that, total direct labor cost was that, direct labor rate variance was that, direct labor efficiency variance was that. Okay. They are saying to the nearest 1,000, what were the total standard labor hours last month? Okay. So given you this, let's first write down. So we have, let me work for this side. We have the direct labor efficiency variance, which is equal to, what's the formula? AQ, SP, SP, SQ. Okay, among this, okay, then, so what do we have here? Do we have Pardon? They said we have actual hours worked, AQ, that is tick. Do you have the standard price? What's the standard labor hours? So then we have total direct labor cost. A total direct labor cost. Okay. I don't need that right now. So in this formula, we only have one. So let's write another one. They still gave us the rate variance. The rate variance is equal to AP, AQ minus AQ, SP. For rate variance, what do we have? At least we have that one, 117,600. Although it's vaguely written, I'm thinking it is the actual labor cost, 117,600. Okay, here we had 28,000. Okay.
Yeah, I see that one.
Yeah, we're using hours. And that's all we have. So how do we go about this one? So let me just, this is 8,400. So you're saying 8,000. It's for efficiency is equal to 28,000 SP minus SP SQ. We don't have that. Then for the rate, we have 3,900 is equal to 117,600. 117,600 minus what? Okay. Minus AQ. AQ, we have AQ, right? Actual quantity. 28,000 hours. AQ, where is the formula? AQ, SP. Actual price was? We don't have actual price. We have AQ, SP, AQ, AP. Remember this. That is the same as AQ, AP. Yes.
Professor was using the 17600 actual quantity when I do the rate variance. Because then that was not the.
Yo, and I'm saying AQ, AP, this entire box is 117. No, remember when we were picking it earlier in the previous example. Like, let me show you. Remember, we're picking from, this is actual, yes. We are picking this as AQ, AP. Okay, now we have it. So now, what are they asking for before we digress a lot? They're asking for the standard labor hours worked last month. So we can start by getting the standard. So we can from the second formula, you can get the standard price, right? Given we have summarized the way it's summarized from the rate formula. From the rate formula, this one, we can get the standard price. So standard price would equal to, but first they said it's adverse. So that means our actual has to be greater than the standard for this one to be positive. So that means this will be 117,600. Is it minus 3,900? Divide by 8,000. What do we get? Yes. Oh, hey, sorry. Thank you. No, I think I interchanged them. 3,900, 84,000, and this, that means this is also 84. 8,000 like that. Okay, so what do we get? Pardon? 3.9, like this. Okay, so now we have SP 3.9. So we go back and tackle this one. We have SP, we have SP, then we shall stay with SQ. Okay. Okay. Let's also address it. 3,900 is equal to 2,800 times SP. SP is 3.9. 2,000. 28,000 times 3.9 minus SP 3.9 times SQ. Okay. Just a moment. What were the total standard labor hours worked? Okay. So if we fraction this out, we shall get SQ equal to 2,800 this times 3.9. Take this side, minus 3,900 divided by 3.9. Pardon? 27,000. So 27,000 are hours. Are they the standard hours worked? Yeah, I think that's furthest I can go. Yeah, the standard hours worked last month were 27,000 hours. Okay, which is equivalent hour. So the standard hours are asking for the flex budget for the hours. Are we together? So there's no formula for doing these things. Okay. So write down as long as you know, that's why I was insisting on giving you the formulas. Because these ones they are different from what we have in the book. In the book, we have an arrangement, which is a bit cumbersome. So, but when you have the formulas, you write down the formula, because that's what now we're setting the questions. You write down the formula, then you start looking for what you don't have. So use all the data, then you'll notice that some data is useless, some data was relevant. For example, when you look at in the previous example, the data they gave us on standard allowance for actual production was useless. Okay. So we wrote down our formula, we realized that we don't need that data. Here we wrote down two formulas. Then you pick out which formula you want to use to navigate the problem. Okay. Because when you only know one, don't first summarize everything down on paper. Don't just try to tackle it before you summarize it. Okay. Any questions? So you do for me this one. I've done for you many. So you do for me this one. Before we look at target and one more topic and we go home. You said we have 2 more classes. Oh. I guess we can go home, but let's look at the debate. So you don't have to panic when you see this, the question, just write out the formulas, okay? Arrange the data. And then you see from there, then you progress. Take it step at a time. Don't try to do 4 steps at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. That's one of the easy ones. The variance is what they're asking you to find the actual contribution. Point per unit. That's for it. Yes. But this is that's what it's supposed to be. No, in plain sight. This one was the simplest of things. Why you actually look great? Oh, you have to negotiate in this that 30 seconds you have the answer. I see you want to write formulas. Not everything is complicated. Okay, they're saying you're used to complicated things. So they're saying last month the standard contribution on actual sales. Okay. And we said the reason why we compute the sales volume contribution variance is to adjust from budget to actual. So that means this one becomes relevant now. So we have 23,000. We adjust price variance, add 4,000, and then subtract 3 to 50. And the answer becomes 20. So when you don't practice, they will look easy here. Like in a month, they will look like it's written in Greek. Any questions? So that concludes variance analysis. So when is our next class? Next Friday. And that is our last. Okay, we have one more class. And in that one more class, what's it? Our next class is our last class.
Yes.
Okay, we also have one more class. Remember, we skipped a Monday. So we have, okay, one more class. Two. We skipped 2 Mondays.
No, 2 more.
No. So when you finish this topic, we go home. It's a very simple topic. And actually, it should be for, I know I don't go through it, I just skip it. I just put to go and read. Why it's entirely theory. And these are things I talk about throughout the whole class, like the time I'm teaching. So every organization, okay, has to set targets. Not even organization, every individual, I believe all of you have targets. Okay. When I ask you your targets in this paper, I think all of you have, right? So there's one who wants to get the 50, there's one who wants to get 80, there's one who wants to get a 90. Okay. Well, there's one who wants to do the paper when? Who wants to do the paper this month? None. Next month? Yeah, next month is May. It's not far off. Then June, August. So we have targets, okay? But remember, for you to set a target, starts within your broad objectives, okay? When I say broad objectives, what do you intend to achieve? For example, when I came to MAT, around so many years ago, 13, 12 years ago, Okay. I came with a broad target that I have to do ABC. This SSA should help me do ABCD. Okay. So in that broad target, you set your timeline and say, within the next 2 years, I should finish SCCA. Okay. So because it's feeding into your broad targets, and that's what we call the mission and objectives. Okay. So every organization has to have a mission and objective. I don't believe your overall target is just to do MA. Okay. There's something you want where MA just feeds into that. Okay, or where SSA just feeds into. I don't think there's anyone here who came here just to get the SCCA certificate. Okay. All of us want to use the SCCA certificate to address our broad objectives. So mission represents the vision of top management and what is that they are trying to achieve. So good mission should have those characteristics: brevity, flexibility, and distinctiveness. Normal mission statement is a formal statement of an organization's mission, which describes the organization's basic purpose and what it's trying to achieve. Okay. And alongside mission, we have objectives. The objectives have to be SMART. That is being specific. For example, I want to complete SCCA in 2 years. That's supposed to be measurable so that you can measure the time. Okay. It's supposed to be attainable. You can't say I want to do the entire SCCA in 1 year. That's not attainable. Okay. Because even the paper permits you, so SCCA permits you to do a maximum number of papers at a particular point in time. Okay. It should be relevant. That means it shouldn't be in the past. It should be in the future and time bound. So objectives can either be primary or secondary. Primary, those are the corporate objectives. Secondary, those are the objectives which feed into the primary objective. For example, you come here and say, I want to be an accountant. That's a primary objective. That means SCCA becomes a secondary objective. Okay. So then after setting objectives, we go to planning, control, and decision making. I think that's what we have been doing. We're planning, you set the budget, how you're going to achieve various items. Okay. For example, we have an objective of a profit-making institutions: increase market share, revenue, reduce costs. Okay. So the objective levels can vary, either strategic, tactical, or operational. So this is strategic is long-term planning. Tactical normally is annual planning. So, but annual planning breaking down the long-term plan into annual achievable plans. Operational, that is daily, day-to-day plans or activities, which are intention to achieve the annual target. So these ones are intention to achieve annual targets. These ones are intention to achieve the long-term targets. Okay. So like I said, if you have a long-term plan of becoming an accountant, you can start by saying, every year I'll do 6 papers, SCCA 6 papers, 6 papers of SCCA. So you have the strategic plan, become an accountant. This is going to take you 4 years. Okay. But you say for me to reach here, for now, for the first 3 years, I need to do 6 SCCA papers each year. And then in the last year, I need to have an internship. Okay. So you have a clear plan that in the first 2 years, I need to do 6. That means when by the time you do 6, you've gone past the first and second level. That means you have enough knowledge. Then you need to try to apply it so that you're ready for a workplace. Okay. So that is a plan. So that is tactical. Then operation is your monthly or 3-month plans. That's, I need to do MA, BT, FA the next 3 months. So you manage it slowly. So by the end of the year, you've achieved your 6 papers. So when you keep consistent achieving your annual targets, you realize that you end up achieving your strategic targets. So after setting the targets, then there comes control, what we have been doing under variance analysis, comparing actual performance with the plan and coming up with deviations. Because you can say, I want to do 6 papers each year, then you realize that MA is completely non-doable in a year. So you keep procrastinating, like many of you want to do. We reach December and you haven't done MA. Don't you think to be a shame on you? Okay. Imagine you've labored to come here for 4 months. And then you procrastinate until December. But that is comparing the plan with the actual, like variance analysis. Then you're making a decision. Remember at the point we realized that we had a favorable price rate variance, but then an adverse efficiency variance. So you task yourself, do I have poor quality employees? That means you need to train them, okay? So that you can improve on their efficiency, ultimately improving on that efficiency variance. So you end up having now a favorable rate variance and also an improved efficiency because you did conduct the trainings. Then critical success factors, these are a requirement that is fundamental for competitive success. For example, as a student, what do you think is your critical success factor? Passing papers, okay? So you need to be able to demonstrate to people that you have the ability to pass the paper. That is what indicates that you understood MA. These other things you can explain to people, you can preach MA, but as long as you can get 50% and more, we can't tell that you understood MA. For businesses, it's profitability, market share, productivity, product leadership goals, okay? Those are critical success. So these are a performance requirement that is fundamental for competitive success. So as long as you keep getting above 50%, that means you'll be on track to get an accountant, okay? But even if you say you know how to do things, but you can't get 50%, that means you will not be on that path, okay? So the critical success factors will also inform what we call our key performance indicators. Like a critical success factor is passing. The key performance indicator is about 50%. I hope now we are getting the difference. We said mission is to become a super accountant or a finance guru. That's like long term, 15 years. Strategic objectives, become an accountant in the next 4 years. And then you break down the strategic objective into tactical, achievable, annual plans. Do 6 papers, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, look for valuable experience. Okay? Critical success factors that you're on that path, you need to keep passing. You know, what we are looking for, all of us here, is a pass. Even if you get 98 and I get my humble 50, all of us end up with one thing, a pass. When you get your beautiful 49 and I get my 20%, we have all done what? Failed. There's no almost. I almost passed SCCA. No. You've done what? You failed. Actually, you can get 89, 90, then a 42. I consistently get 50. You don't see me, like, you just read about my guy was here and the guy left. As you'll be blabbering about how one time you got a 90. So consistency is key. So the critical success factors are pass. Then you can set your own key performance indicators. Say, maybe this one I want to get a 70, this one I want to get a 40, a 50. As long as it's a pass, the KPIs can vary. The KPIs will inform the critical success factors. As long as the business is profitable, it's a good business. But then the levels may differ. Okay. So you say, I'm a champion in theory papers. Those ones I want the KPI should be 70 to satisfy my own ego. Okay. I'm poor in arithmetic. As long as I get a 50 KPI, you're good. So as long as the KPI fits into a critical success factor, we're on our way to getting out of this place. Then short-termism, the fact that people normally focus on short-term objectives. Previously, at the expense of long-term objectives. If I can explain this in a story, previously, many of the businesses used to appraise themselves on what? What is one of those key business KPIs or critical success factor? Okay, let me use KPI. What is one of the key business KPIs? Non-profitability. Everybody was talking about profits. Are you profitable? Are you profitable? Are you profitable? Same thing in education. Our problem is passing. Okay. All of us are looking for to pass. Okay. But is it worth it? Does it mean somebody has understood? No. But okay, for education, we haven't evolved. People get D1s and they're like, I have friends I did with campus. They come in, they doing campus, they were extremely good, they come with very good grades. But then when campus dawned on them, they couldn't complete campus. Because they didn't actually understand the things from before. So passing, like people getting D1s, D2, doesn't mean they're smart. Okay? But that is our KPI for now. You can't argue that you're smart if you got F8. It's got F8. So when the moment the guy says, I got 18.8, we are saying, okay, we're done. Okay. But they don't, that does not mean anything. Okay. It doesn't mean that person can reason. That means that person can excel in an working environment. Okay. But that is our KPI. So even businesses, the KPI was profitability. How do we make profits? The numbers, watching the numbers, making sure that the business is profitable. But profits are short-term. For example, if you exploit something, a resource, like imagine we have oil, we aggressively exploit it, we shall be profitable in the first years. But then after it has been depleted, what next? The company is going to collapse. If, for example, if you looked at Uganda's high-end restaurants, so the moment they open them up, they are catchy. People are going to those restaurants because I know my restaurants talk bad. So they're attracting so many people. But after a few months, they collapse. After like the first year, many businesses in Uganda don't go beyond the first birthday. But then they are profitable initially. So you open up something, if you've ever looked at Ugandan businesses, you open up something very, very good initially when the owner is still involved. It's good quality, everything is good. Then the owner realizes that the numbers have increased. He focuses on the profits. He brings in other people, he doesn't supervise enough, the quality drops. Okay? So what will happen to the customers? They go away. So the business is initially profitable, and that was the focus, but then it's not sustainable. Okay? So now that is short-termism. So the owners focus on short-term gains. Okay? So in the short term, he wants to try to serve as many people as possible. But then he's serving as many people as possible is he doesn't have the capacity. That means his quality is being affected. Okay, imagine because we want numbers, we squeeze people in here. In here you have like 1,000 people. Okay, yes, in the short term you want the numbers, you'll be profitable, but in the long term, then the people are going to be discomforted, and then they will have to leave. Okay, so that's what we call short-termism. That you focus on short-term goals at the expense of long-term goals. What are some of the long-term goals? Maintaining quality. So if that Ugandan service provider tries to only focus on a few customers, but giving them quality, okay, that means it's not focusing on the short term, it's focusing on the long term. So if you stay with quality, you will grow slowly, but you will grow, okay? That means you gradually improve and become better. But Uganda wants to grow very fast. That is focusing on profit and then neglecting the other aspect. I hope that explains short-termism. Then benchmarking. Benchmarking is making reference to somebody else. For example, we can say Kenya's or Tanzania has a bullet train. So let's go to Tanzania and copy what they have. You've seen what Airtel and MTN are doing. They are doing what they call benchmarking. MTN introduces bundles which don't expire. Airtel also does the same. They introduce this type of course. Airtel also introduce the type of course. Okay, so that is what we call benchmarking, is copying from best practice. So we have types of benchmarking. We have internal, a method of comparing one operating unit or function with another. We have competitive. Information is gathered about other competitors using techniques, including reverse engineering. That's what Airtel and MTN are doing. They're saying that's what China used to do. So whatever technology you have, they will reverse engineer it and see, can we create a version of our own version? Now they're one of the biggest economies. Okay, they're projected to be the biggest economy in a few years because they're self-sustaining. Then functional benchmarking, where internal functions are compared regardless of the industry. This may occur where non-competing businesses have similar processes, like countries. Then strategic benchmarking, a type of competitive benchmarking aimed at strategic action and organization change. Like, for example, when COVID happened, the things of Zoom, they had already happened in other countries. So businesses in Uganda had to strategically benchmark to adjust. Though with the strategic benchmarking they have done, many of our brothers are going to lose jobs because things have been automated. Okay, so you copy what is happening in another country, you bring it here, but it's coming at an expense. But it's what we call strategic benchmarking. Okay. Then external conditions can affect the business performance. My organization has to be aware of its external conditions. Remember, what is it doing? BT? What model can we use to analyze our external environment? Pestera. Okay. We look at market conditions, general economic conditions, government influence through taxation, legislation. Now they're saying ESG. Every business has to report about ESG. So that means you have to pay more money in operational costs to recruit somebody who is good at ESG. So that is how a government decision is affecting your pocket. Okay. And now we're going to June, they're going to read out new taxes. They already said they're introducing new taxes on petrol. That means items are going to increase in price. Okay. So those are government decisions. And then the market conditions. Is it a perfect competition? Is it imperfect competition? So you need to know the strategy you're supposed to take based on the market you have found. Okay. And then sustainability, like I said, ESG. We want to see how can we make profits today without compromising tomorrow. Okay. We want to do things today without compromising the future. For example, if you cut down a forest, you're compromising the future. What will the future see? If you want to build in a swamp, okay, yes, we want factories, but setting up a factory in a swamp, what does it mean to the people who will come in 20, 40 years? Will they ever see a swamp? No. That means, yes, we are making gains today in terms of setting up factories, but we have compromised the future, okay? So whatever gains we make, we need to invest. For example, we are going to extract oil. We need to extract oil. Yeah, oil will be depleted at a point in time. But then let's put things that which will help us continue earning money. So whatever money you get from oil, you can reinvest it in a longer term business. Okay? So that whatever you're doing right now does not compromise. So when you eat all the money your parents give you, you need to save some so that your consumption today does not compromise consumption tomorrow when you don't have money. Okay? Saving is part of sustainability. That consumption today shouldn't be excessive, that tomorrow you're hungry. I think that's a problem of Ugandans. When we get money, we want to eat everything. So when you get money is when you want to wash your hands with very expensive drinks. Then after 2 days, you're saying you have a kidney problem, you want us to help you. Where were you? Okay, where were we when you're spending that money? Did you invite us? Anyway, what you're trying to say, the carbon emissions. So you want to produce items today, but how does it impact the future? I don't want to go beyond. You said just end at 45. And today, I just don't want to go beyond that. That completes target setting. So that sets us for the final class, which is next Friday. Financial performance measurement and assessing non-financial performance. So when we meet next Friday, should we do a test? Are you ready for it? In 2 weeks' time. Not 2 weeks, like in a week and a half. Yeah, the other week. You see, next week we do the final 2 topics, if God allows. And then we do the test in the other week. I think, yeah, it's doable. Eh? Like you have a week and a half time to prepare. Okay? So the test will be standard. Everything in there, including what we are going to study next week. But the bit of it, what we are studying next week is the easiest. It's even easier than variances. So thank you for your time and see you next week. And Mary, hey, it's not Mary. Happy Easter. Invite our Muslim brothers. I understand they didn't invite us for Eid, but please do.